Boy, things did not go great for Francis Ngannou over the weekend in Saudi Arabia against Anthony Joshua. You've probably seen the knockout. You probably have a pretty good idea of what happened. I'm going to show you three kind of additional, not just details, but three things to think about as we go through some of the footage here about to understand what really happened. First thing, fakes and feints from Anthony Joshua. This didn't just set up different ranges, different ways in which to get Francis to bite on different looks, right? Confuse him. There was all different kinds of ways in which he was able to use it. Rhythm disruption, you name it. But the fakes and feints were key to everything Anthony Joshua did. Number two, the level changes. He was able to go high, then go low, then go low, then go high. And it really confused Francis in a very substantial way. And then last but not least, I think one detail that people are sleeping on is you saw a lot of both guys kind of taking the turn to lead at times. But towards the end of the fight, what you notice is Anthony Joshua is able to land, but not quite as much as he wants to. And so I actually think he sets a trap by letting Francis step hard into him, letting him, follow him essentially by backing up, creating space. Here comes Francis. And then, so it's Anthony Joshua's force of punch, Francis Ngannou's movement, and then together it creates a bit of a huge problem. All right, so let's take a look here at what happened. We're at about 10 seconds into the first round here. And I want you to sort of notice a couple of things here. I'm going to back up to make sure you can see a little bit more. Let's watch. Watch at how much Francis, by the way, bouncing and whatnot. You don't have your feet under you when you do that. Not the end of the world per se, but just watch this. So here comes the lowering of the level from Anthony Joshua. And look at what you notice. He kind of brings this hand out here, and watch the hand of Francis. It goes from here to like here. A gigantic parry. Bites on the feint big time. Where he is, step feint. What do you notice from Francis? Look at him, rear hand. Now what he wants to do here is, they knew he was going to go to the body, so they wanted a rear hand parry, a left hook, but that doesn't quite work as intended either. But I just want you to know, look at how much Francis is biting on the feints, right? He's really sort of being aggressive about that in a way that's a little bit of a telltale sign. And by the way, this was something that was on the tape in the Tyson Fury fight. Just Fury wasn't able to take advantage of it. Anthony Joshua was. A little bit later, step through to the jab, and you can see rear hand parry. And here's going to come that left hook around the corner. But if you notice, it's a mechanically inefficient punch, and you're going to see Francis kind of get his hips out of the way when he does it. See that? It kind of steps out. Look, when he throws this, there's no power underneath him. He's not rooted to the ground. So even though sometimes it does get through, and it's actually a very good shot to throw, it just doesn't do him necessarily a lot of good. Here comes Anthony Joshua stepping hard, pretends like he's going to go. Little bit of a touch there, but look at how much Francis. Now he has room to step behind him, and he does, but look at how much he's biting on it. A little bit later, here comes Joshua stepping into him. Anticipates with pressure. Here it comes. Boom. Misses on the kind of the rear hand parry, and it comes around and sneaks around this hook from Francis Ngannou. It's a decent attempt, right? So it looks like it's going to be a jab, and then you switch it to a hook at the last minute. But again, I'm going to go back to his footwork here a little bit. He steps. I mean, it's not terrible. That one's pretty good, actually. It just, there's not a lot of steam on it because he's reaching really far away. A little bit later. All right, take a look here. Here comes Joshua, right? Let's see. He's going to bring his rear foot first. Step. He's going to go. And what do you notice? Rear hand parry. There's going to be that left hook. And this time, Joshua gets under it. So now a minute in, he's already begun to make adjustments. A minute in, he's already begun to say, aha, I was kind of straight up before, even though I was level changing. Now I'm going to dip off to the side and jab, and I'm going to use that to create more attacks, to get through better. And he already does. Boom, just like that. And he's able to, by the way, watch his angle when he comes in. He comes in here, and he exits here, right? So he's changing angles as he jabs, lowering his level, the whole 9 yards, now slipping off the jab, putting things together within a minute already, very quickly. A little bit later. There he is. Look how smooth that is. Francis wants to greet him with the jab. Boom. Can't do it. Head off the center line. Just like that. Great job from Anthony Joshua. A little bit later. Here comes Joshua. Jab to the body. There's that left hook. But again, it's just an arm punch. Look at the mechanics of Francis. He doesn't even have his feet under him. Like, he's literally airborne. Look. And you can see him like moving his hips out of the way. It's almost like he's trying to move his body out of the way to give his arm room to throw, but there's just not going to be a lot of power on that, even for a big guy like Francis. It's not going to do a whole lot because it's not really Francis's full power. It's a very minimal version of it. Here we are a little bit later on. This is the dreaded stance switch. Then he goes southpaw. Probably not a great idea. Watch what Anthony Joshua does here a little bit. He's going to take a step out. He's going to paw a little bit. They call that fencing like this. This is called fencing. It's lead hand control, glove control. So he's going to use this to set timing and then change the timing. He's going to use this to gauge distance. He might use it to occupy the hand. A lot of different things he could use it for. So let's see what he does. He's going to step out. Francis is going to step out. He's going to bring this foot up. And then he goes front foot. And instead of rocking back to the back foot again in rhythm, he changes rhythm and then goes. So he's not going on this beat. He's going on the half beat. So he's changing the timing. But you notice, I mean, look how far away he is, right? Like, look how far this is. Look at how wide. It's just he has to try and find a way to reach him this way. And also pay attention what he knows from Francis. It's the same kind of attack or same kind of defense. He started out here. And what would he do? Rear hand parry, right hand parry, left hook. So then he switches to southpaw, but he's still doing the right hand parry just as his lead hand. So when he makes a big motion with it, he just creates all of these openings. And especially because they're big parries. We'll talk about that in a minute. But he doesn't change his defense even though he changed his stance. Right? Same defense. And because it's not orthodox anymore, there's no left hook behind it. Because now he's over here. But Joshua's a bit too far away. So Joshua changing timing, lowering level, fakes and feints and all that kind of stuff. It's all beginning to work a little bit, but a little bit too far away. Let's watch what he does here. I love this sequence from Anthony Joshua. Okay, so they're going to touch. What you're going to notice from Joshua is he's going to move closer off of some of these fakes and feints. So watch. He's going to take a side step here a little bit, just a little bit, and he's going to double up. Like watch his feet, right? Here we go. He's going to step, double step, and then big step, right? So he's playing with the footwork a little bit, jagged with the timing, but he moves forward now. Francis kind of just solidifies on the back foot, kind of pulls his torso away, but doesn't really step away. Lowers his level, comes up. Anthony Joshua sees that. And what I want you to pay attention to is he just lowers his level up and down, up and down. But he doesn't really go side to side. He's not really faking a whole lot. He's not getting much of a reaction from AJ. And he's rooted in the ground. He's not changing angles as he's playing with elevation. It's just straight up and down. So he does it again, right? Does it again, lowers his level, actually takes a half step forward. So Joshua just times the ascent. Just like this. Boom. He actually times him coming back up. So by the time he's up here, before he has a chance to really solidify himself, he gets cracked with it. So it's excellent timing. It's using the motion of Francis against him and also this stance. And what do you notice from the stance? Look, he's using that right hand parry again, but he misses because that's usually his backhand. He just switches it to the front hand and he's trying to parry with it and it whiffs and he has all of these openings. Switch stance didn't switch defense, or I should say defensive tendencies, and pays for it here. So his elevation is getting timed, his movement is getting timed, his defense didn't subsequently change even though his stance did, and he ultimately paid for it. And I want you to, one more time, fakes and feints. What gets Anthony Joshua into position, right? He's here. Watch what he does. Takes a hard step, doesn't necessarily go too much further. Francis kind of accepts it, lowers his level, puts out a jab just as like a probe or a way to dissuade further action. Francis lowers his level one more time. Anthony Joshua sees it. As soon as he comes up, takes a step out, bang, and crushes him for it. And then the hand whiffs big time on the parry. Just beautifully set up from Anthony Joshua. Second round, a little bit later, jabbing and kind of occupying the glove here a little bit. Back to orthodox. So we're back here for Francis. That's better. Boom. Look at that. Look at the size of that parry. Just whiffs big time. He gets his hips out of the way. One more time. Look at the size of that parry, folks. He goes from here to here. I want you to pay attention later. I'm going to show you Anthony Joshua parrying, and I want you to pay attention to the difference. I mean, just got him biting, and look at the openings. I mean, my Lord, there are just endless there. So a little bit later, jab to the body, head off the center line. There's that rear hand parry, that same left hook, but look at Francis. I want you to pay attention to something. Watch Francis's feet. He's going to, step hard, and he's already in motion. Joshua's already in motion on the hard step from Francis, changes levels, and so by the time he wants to hook around, both of his heels are in the air. He just doesn't have a mechanically set position, so he was timing Francis stepping to then go, timing it so that he was not in an optimally balanced position in order to counter him, and Joshua knew it. Lowers his level, head off the center line. But what do you notice about this jab? He doesn't go to the body, he goes upstairs this time with it. So he changes location, stays down in anticipation of the left hook, one doesn't come. Finally, there's a bit of a jab that makes a deflecting connection, and he just goes to the body and then comes up. Now watch this. Joshua takes a step and sees Francis, baits Francis with the step to jab into him, thinking that it's going to connect. But instead, he gets his head off the center line, looks like he's going to go to the body like he normally does, doesn't even bother throwing it, and instead re-raises his elevation and does this. Bang. But that's not the fight, that's not the punch that dropped him. What do you notice from this? It's excellent awareness, hard step. Here comes the jab. He gets out of the way, he slips off, and comes over the top. It's a wonderful shot. But this is not the one that dropped him, as I indicated. Here comes the collar tie. The reason why I bring this up is because you'll notice Francis does kind of step with the jab, but not super hard. And I think what you have yes, he was able to drop him from southpaw, but in orthodox, I think this is the point where Anthony Joshua realizes, if I can make this guy come to me a little bit more, I can get the exact distance I need to really land on him, and then it's force meeting force, right? A little bit later, jab to the body. Rear hand parry, left hook. But look at Francis. His feet aren't even under him when he throws. He kind of pushes it and then brings his hips back. It's just not mechanically very efficient. A little bit later. Watch. Jab. Now pay attention to what Anthony Joshua does. We talked about the big parry of Francis Ngannou. Watch this one. Boom. Just that. Just that. And then he brings it back up. Look. We're here. We're here, touch pushes it, and that's as much as you get on it. The further you parry, the more distance you have and the more time it takes to bring your hand back. The further you step, the harder it is going to be to get back, and the longer it's going to take. You're covering more distance. It's just harder. So parries have to be tight. Not these. You can do a thing like a circle parry, depending on what you want to do, especially on like on kicks in MMA. There are cases to have a bit of a rounded parry, but even then, like here to here, it's just too much. Look at the narrow parrying you see from Anthony Joshua, and he brings his hand right back up. Defensively responsible. See the difference? It's a big one. A little bit later, and now look, it's Ngannou chasing him. Flick jab up top, and then he goes to the body. And look at him stepping hard into this, right? Look at Ngannou. Look at his footwork. He brings his back foot first, steps hard. So he's, by the way, because he's going back foot first, right? Pay attention to this. One more time. Pay attention to Francis's feet. Which one moves first? It's kind of a crow hop, but the front foot is the one that lands second. So he's stepping hard into the punches, his own, and in a second into Anthony Joshua's. It's not the kind of one where he's got a little bit of way to step forward and then come back. Like, he doesn't have the same nimbleness with it. He's almost, because he's going back foot first, he's almost kind of galloping into position, which is landing him harder on the front foot, which makes it harder to retreat. So all of his weight is just being dumped forward, right? So let's watch a little bit later. So he's chasing. What does Anthony Joshua do? Just gives him room. I think he's realizing this guy's going to step. Look at Francis, right? Look at how hard he's stepping here. Boom. Like big steps into it. And that's not necessarily wrong, but if you can get led into something, that could cost you in the end. Because, by the way, is there any fake or any feint he's throwing here? He just kind of goes. Anthony Joshua sees it and lets him follow, setting a trap. So he does it a little bit later. Here it comes. Watch. Look at Anthony Joshua, right? Sees everything coming. Look at how far apart they are. So Francis naturally is going to want to close the distance, but he doesn't throw any fake or any feint himself. He just goes. There's the flick jab. Look at the hard, look at the hard step. One, brings his foot, and then another hard step. Boom. So I want you to pay attention to this. Joshua sees this coming, slips off, and then comes over the top of the shot. It's an incredible punch. And it's force moving this way, plus force moving this way, kind of colliding here. Boom, right in the middle, just like that. Hard shots together, just like that. And it's Anthony Joshua having set traps. Look at him, nice and tall. No fakes, no feints from Francis. He's going to try and double step his way in. 1, 2. But before he can do it, he gets, look at Francis. Let me clear this off. Look at Francis's rhythm. 1, and before he can set the second foot down, he gets caught, not here, there. Right in the middle of his own timing as he's stepping into it. So you have Francis getting led into a trap, getting timed, getting hit before his other foot can land on the ground, right? I mean, everything that could go wrong is going wrong. Doesn't fool Anthony Joshua with any fake or any feint or any kind of setup or anything else, right? Remember, his level change was getting timed before. He got rid of that completely, basically. Steps in, and before he can even put his other foot, as he's galloping in heavy on the front foot, before he can even land, he gets timed right over the top of his jab. Bang. That's the difference. Before, Anthony Joshua had to kind of reach, and he was landing, but he had to kind of reach for it. Later on, he just said, I'm going to let this guy come to me and then effing time him. And all of the different level changes he was doing, all of the different fakes and feints he was doing, had Ngannou basically either confused or unaware of what he was doing, comes in and crushes him. One more time. Look at Anthony Joshua. Eyes downfield the whole time, man. Sees it, right? There it comes. He already knows what he's going to do. Lowers his level, gets his head off, bang. Before Francis can even put the second foot down, timing him. Just like that, right in the middle. Superb timing. And then after this is the one that knocks him down. Francis is a sitting duck at this point. You already know what he's going to do. He's going to come over, close the show, and then pop, and then that's all she wrote. Listen, when there's a skill and experience in terms of boxing gap like this, the person who's at the skill disadvantage is simply going to leave openings that they don't know are there. That's just the reality. That's exactly what you got here. Francis is a legend and a combat sports icon. He's already beat the game in so many ways, but this was a tough assignment. It was too tough for him in the end, and he paid for it. Great job by Anthony Joshua. Francis will be back, but boxing. You don't play boxing, boys and girls. It's a tough sport. Until next time, enjoy the fights.